Hey everybody! Today we're going to talk about industrialization, which is a key concept to understanding how the United States became wealthy. And so we really want to go over this and have a clear understanding of what it means to industrialize a country. Industrialization describes how we manufacture or make goods, stuff. In this case, it refers specifically to manufacturing goods in factories. Before 1800, societies were mostly agricultural. That means that people generally worked on farms, which is how we got food and a lot of the other things that we needed back then. More complex goods like clothing and tools were usually made by hand, often by one person or family. So, for example, if you needed a pair of shoes during the time when the United States was a colony of England, you went to a cobbler. The cobbler and his family and maybe a worker or two would actually make your shoes by hand. So think about that. If you were to buy something made by hand today, do you think it would be cheap and easy to find? Is Walmart filled with custom-made goods just for you? Yeah, no way. Something made by hand takes several days or longer to make. That means that the supply of that item is very low. You can't find a lot of them out there to buy. So if the supply of a good is low and there's a shortage, meaning not enough for everyone, what do you think happens to the price? If you said that the price goes up, you're right. So stuff was kind of expensive before 1800, and since it was expensive to buy that pair of handmade shoes, you probably only had one pair. You probably didn't have many clothes either, or much of anything else. But in the late 1700s, Europe went through an industrial revolution. Of course, a lot of times we think of revolutions as being a war. It involves violence. But not always. A revolution is really just a major change. The major change in this case is that we started manufacturing goods in factories. Now, a factory is a building where things are made by machine. And machines make things a lot faster than just people making things by hand. When you make goods by machine, you can make a lot of things all at once. So instead of one pair of shoes taking a few days or a week, you can make hundreds and hundreds of pairs of shoes in just one day. This is called mass production. That means making a large amount of something, usually a similar thing, and making it efficiently. When we mass produce items like these shoes here, it means that the supply of those goods are high. We have lots of these shoes available. Now, think about the price of something when there are lots of the same type available. So for instance, in this shoe store, if we have 20 pairs of shoes at the store and people only buy 5 of them, what's going to happen to the price? Well, it's going to go down. A lot of times it goes on sale and more people buy it at the lower price. So guess what? Now, after the Industrial Revolution, people have more goods available to buy and the prices are cheaper. That's great. Now we can buy all kinds of stuff. And that's exactly what happened when we had the Industrial Revolution. People bought more stuff made in factories for less money. Okay, so industrial means that we manufacture goods in factories. We got that so far? That's a really key idea. Now, we know that one change in society was that people could buy more goods because they were cheaper and there were lots of things to buy. So let's talk a little bit more about those factories. Now, factories are buildings with machines, right? But think about machines. You need to plug them in. So can you plug stuff in if you live in America in the 1700s? Yeah, no, you can't. Trust me on that one. So these machines need some kind of power. In the early days, they used running water in rivers to power these machines. They heated the water to create energy to use for power in steam engines. And then they had to use coal to heat up that water. And that's how you had energy to run your machines. So, because you needed to power your machines, you couldn't just plunk down factories anywhere. They needed to be near where water and coal were. So, pretty soon, cities began to grow near water and coal resources. And these cities are where they actually built the factories. So, what we call urban areas are actually cities, and that's what we mean by urban. An urban area is a city. The other thing you need to run machines and to manufacture goods are people, lots of people. So, as consumers started buying more and more stuff, the factories got busy and needed lots of people to work on the machines and make more stuff, more goods. Now, remember, before this, most people worked on farms, right? But these factory jobs were good, steady work, and you got paid more often. So people started leaving the farms, which are out in rural areas of the countryside, and worked in factories, which are in urban areas. Okay, there's a name for this movement of people. It's called urbanization. Urbanization is simply when people start moving into cities. And of course, they're moving into cities to work in factories. That's called industrialization. Industrialization means now we are making goods in factories. All right, got it? So here's a big question that we want to ask based on all this information. How did industrialization change society after the Industrial Revolution? How did it change the way people manufactured goods? They did it in factories, right? How did it change what people could buy and where people worked and where people lived? Remember, as we look through chapters 1 and 2, keep in mind how important industrialization is in America from 1870s until about 1900, and this period that we call the Gilded Age. Almost everything we're going to talk about for the next 2 weeks comes back to this idea that we're going from being an agricultural society to an industrial society, and we'll see how this huge change affected America. And by the way, America was really good at industrialization, maybe better than anybody. So if you're wondering how the United States went from being kind of a small rural country to becoming the richest country in the world, this is definitely one reason. Thanks for watching today.